Well, I just recorded 30 minutes, and for some reason, my audio decided to mess up completely, so the audio was all just peaking throughout the entire video, and it sounded absolutely horrible. So 30-minute video, down the drain, we gotta record this again. It is what it is. We are gonna be talking about a hero that is on the 20x. So currently on this banner, we have Arrogance and Malrik. We're going to be taking a look at Malrik. I did pull roughly 40 shards, and I was able to get him, luckily. So let's go ahead and take a look at his kit and what he does, and then we'll talk about the build and the stats you want, where you can use him, all that sort of good stuff. So he has a talent. The hero is going to gain 20% damage increase, so just flat out 20% more damage, granting Wizard's Rune. So that's going to increase the attack, defense, and HP of the rune bearer by 15%. This can stack with other effects to the next hero deployed in attack range. This effect can only be triggered one time per deployment. When Wizard's Rune is granted to an allied platform hero, Malrik's fire form will be replaced with frost form. So his initial form is his fire form, where he specializes in single target magic damage, and then his frost form reduces his damage by 25% and converts all attacks to AoE damage. Let's go ahead and take a look at his kit. He has a basic attack, deals 100% damage one time to one enemy in range. He has a passive. Well, in the same form, every 5 basic attacks trigger Fire Blast or Ice Storm, depending on which one he's in. So Fire Blast is going to deal 380% damage one time to one enemy in range and inflict burning. Or Ice Storm, which deals 40% AoE damage one time per second to the target and 5 surrounding enemies for 4 seconds, so essentially 4 pops of 40% damage, which is pretty cool, with a 50% chance to inflict Winter's Bite. Very, very cool stuff there. If no basic attack is launched for 5 seconds, the next attack is guaranteed to trigger this effect, so very similar to like a Seraphina, I think it is, that if they don't attack for a little bit, they essentially just charge up and then, unleash kind of a powerful blast. Now, the final one here is his passive. When casting the ultimate, restores 5% rage to heroes granted with Wizard's Rune, and permanently increases the hero's attack by 3%. This is referencing himself. This attack increase can be gained up to 5 times for each battle, so he's increasing his own attack up to 15%. If no one is granted with runes, restores an extra 5% rage for the hero, so that's going to be for himself once again. And the ultimate, this is a 800 cost on a 400 initial 20-second duration. When the ultimate is activated, increase the hero's attack by 30% for 20 seconds. During this time, transforms the hero's basic attack into Fireball or Blizzard. So Fireball is going to deal 100% damage to one enemy in range 3 times and inflict burning, so it's essentially just powering up his basic. And then Blizzard is going to deal 140% AoE damage one time up to 5 enemies and inflict Winter's Bite, which is very, very cool. So on paper, at least, a very solid kit. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the awakenings. A1, Elemental Covenant is enhanced. Fire Blast is going to deal 60% increased damage and inflicts vulnerability magic damage on them. Ice Storm is going to inflict freeze on enemies and reducing the damage interval by 0.3 seconds and increases the chance to inflict Winter's Bite to 70%, which is very, very strong. We have an A2 plus 300 attack, nothing special there. A3 increases speed boost gained from attack speed by 20%. This is actually very, very nice. So this is essentially going to be the same as just a 20% increase to his attack speed. If you built him with 100 additional attack speed, then it's going to be the equivalent of 120. So very, very strong upgrade there. A4, penetration plus 8, and A5, the hero gains an extra 10% damage increase. When either the hero or a hero granted with Wizard's Rune dies, applies Wizard's Incantation on them. So what does this do? Wizard's Incantation prevents death one time when the carrier takes fatal damage, dispels all debuffs, and restores 50% of their max HP. So kind of just an undying ability there on somebody else inside the range. How do we have him built? Well, this is going to be how he's built right here. So we have 18,000 on the attack. We have 333 attack speed. You probably want him a bit faster than this. I was going for a bit more damage as opposed to anything. 104 and 332 on the crit rate and crit damage respectively. And yeah, nothing too special there. What sort of stats are you looking for? Well, you're looking for attack, you're looking for crit rate, attack speed, and crit damage, pretty much in that order, with maybe a bit of rage regen thrown on it as well. Those are the stats that you want to build him with. Attack speed is very, very important for this guy, so I would recommend maybe trying to get him a little bit faster, if at all possible. And then in terms of the sets, as you can see, I'm running him in Infernal Roar. You can very easily get away with Soulbound Arcana. You can get away with Cataclysm, Ageless Wrath, you know, any sort of a DPS set that you might have on your account. So Curse even, you know, any sort of a set that just boosts your damage output. For the left-hand side, I have him inside Warlord. You can also use him in Calamity. You can use him in Wicked Vengeance, would be very, very strong. Annihilating Might, and certainly, of course, Whirlwind would be very strong as well. Annihilating Might would be very decent, though, to get his crit damage up, though we are at a very good level with that. So that being said, I am not going to be showing him Awakened at all. This is going to be base level promo. The artifact we have on him is a maxed out tier of Twilight as well. This is a 100% free-to-play account. So everything you see here is 100% attainable by anybody watching the video. I have not spent a single cent on the game. Obviously, it's going to take you a long time to farm this level of gear. I'll just kind of show you what the gear we're rocking with is. For his right-hand pieces, I would recommend going with attack main stats on all of them, and maybe a crit damage if you can, you know, sacrifice the stats somewhere else. So, you know, ideal pieces, what you're looking for is attack main. Then you're looking for attack flat on the sub. You're looking for attack speed, crit rate, crit damage. These are the perfect pieces. This is what you want on him. The alternative to that is if you have a crit damage on the main, obviously, then you're looking for attack bonuses, flat attack, crit rate, and attack speed on the substats, and those are the perfect pieces. Now, as you can see, realistically, I have very few perfectly rolled pieces on my account, right? So it's going to take you a long time to get to that level of gear, even more than I have. I've been playing this game since like a couple of months after launch, and we're nowhere close to having min-max gear because I'm not a whale, right? But you know, it's a very, this build is a very kind of middle of the road, I would say. Obviously, it is very strong. It's not end game Kraken level, though, either, but it's also certainly not, you know, early game. So I'm basically just providing you the information for what stats you want to build on him, so you can have a decent idea of how to, you know, do it on your account, because obviously you may not have ancient Infernal Roar pieces, right? You might just be trying to beat Gear Dungeon 1 for the first time, or Gear Raid 1, I should say, rather. Let's go ahead and let's test this guy. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Now, obviously, like I mentioned, I did record a video previous to this, so I know how his damage comes out. I'm not necessarily going to spoil it, but it's very disappointing. Let's just put it that way. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go into the guild boss. I'm going to show you him. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to place him. Then we're going to place Anora next to him so he gets placed into his AoE mode. Now, obviously, you know, guild boss is not the best location to be testing AoE damage dealing heroes. So we're also going to take him into Gear Raid 1, which is the place to test AoE damage based heroes, right? So we can see Anora is pretty much at like double his damage there fairly consistently already. And then as soon as we pop ultimates, and then we're going to pop the ultimate on Pharisee, excuse me, as well for the increase of attack there. So he's going to get the inspiration, whereas Anora doesn't. Even without that inspiration, though, Anora is still just absolutely clapping this guy's cheeks. So she has well over double his damage when the ultimates are popped. They have very similar durations of the ultimates. This is also not a specific thing to Anora. So I've tested him against some other heroes as well. He's in a crazy clapped out build, right? Like for my account, at least. Like I said, it was middle of the road. But all things considered, this is a very strong build, right? He has 18,000 attack, which for, you know, a magic damage dealer is pretty crazy. And then on top of that, he's going to have, obviously, the tier of Twilight, which is going to boost that up even more. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into Gear Raid 1, right? We're going to go through this with Iona first. And we're going to cycle through. And we're just going to see what kind of damage we can get. So we're going to throw down Iona. We're going to throw down Dolores. I do have Diao Chan, but I haven't updated the autos on this stage. So, you know, we're going to be a bit slower. It is what it is. So we're just going to go 2x speed all the way through. We're basically going to do all the waves until we actually have the all of the ads down, essentially. So we're going to go ahead and pop autos, or ultimates here, I should say, rather. Then we're going to recall Loro. We're going to place down Eloin to get those heals out. We're just going to 2x speed it all the way through. And we'll go over a little bit more of the kind of technical stuff on the Malrik side as well. once we get to that stage. So we're going to go ahead and place Hollow over here as well as Anora so she can help us mop up, you know, whatever stragglers might be left. As you can see, we do have the ultimates ready to go again, but we're not going to pop them quite yet until the big boys up top start coming down. So if you're not familiar with Gear Raid 1, essentially these little AoE DPS units, they don't do a whole lot of damage to the wall, so you're mainly just going to be worried about the units behind them there. So we're going to go ahead and pop everybody here. Then we're going to get Laurel placed, and then we're going to recall her just so that we can get through this ASAP, essentially. Get some more rage regen for our heroes. And as you can see, Iona's doing a pretty solid job mopping up all of these enemies once they get to the wall. Obviously, we do have Power of Dominance on, so everybody's going to get a 30% increase to their stats, but we are, of course, also going to run the Power of Dominance when we have Malrik in here. So it's not like there's going to be, you know, an unfair matchup or something like that because Iona had Power of Dominance and he doesn't. We're going to make it as fair as possible across the board. I'll show you the Iona build after this as well if you're curious. She does have very solid attack and whatnot. We're going to go ahead and pop everybody here once again. And then we're going to throw in Laurel. We're going to cycle her there. Make sure we have the Rage Regen coming back for our Iona. We're going to get the Wood Elf placed down just so we don't take so much damage from the pesky AoE annoying little grunts there. And as you can see, we pretty much just have we have a few grunts left. We're going to go ahead and trigger all these ultimates once again. See if we can't try and cycle down these guys as quick as possible. Now, Iona, if you're not familiar, is one of the older epics in the entire game. So she was in the game when I very first started playing towards launch. And boom, there we go. The last ad is down, so we're not going to worry too much about the boss there. As you can see, though, we would have been able to beat the stage without any sort of an issue whatsoever. Let's take a look at the damage done. Iona obviously comes in as a primary damage dealer at 55 million. With Anora coming in there right behind her at 51 million. Keep those numbers in mind. So 51 and 55 million is what we got from those. And like I was mentioning, Iona is a older hero, right? So she's also built out inside Infernal Roar. She has 13k attack. She has 376 on the attack speed. She's not crit capped, and she has 313 on the crit damage. She does have a little bit of rage regen, which certainly helps out. And then she is, of course, also in a baseline promo tier of Twilight. So I think this build is a little bit, you know, crazy. Again, I did have her in some very, very good gear to try and get through some faction wars, so she's very solid. Now, let's go ahead and compare her to Malrik. So Malrik, again, you know, legendary hero, just released on a 20x, has a lot of hype surrounding him. He's been touted as being a very good hero inside Gear Raid 1, right? In the promotionals that they put out, they said that's a very good place for him to be used. It's kind of where he should specialize. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at what he is capable of doing here. And an interesting interaction that I've noticed is when you place Dolores, it doesn't actually trigger his wizard's rune, so she's not going to get the extra damage or anything like that. It actually waits until I have placed down the Boreas before it puts it on anyone, which is nice, right? Like, that's something we would have been complaining about and needed them to fix if that wasn't the case. So definitely some good foresight there from Moonton. We'll get our Laurel down. Everybody's coming down now. We'll start popping alts, and then we'll recall Laurel. We'll get Eloin down. We're going to run this through essentially the same way that we did with Iona. As you can see, he's in the same DPS spot. But as you can see, already there's a lot more of these guys left, right? Like, he's not... Well, maybe. This guy got taken out. We had one left last time, too. But, again, I don't want to spoil anything. We'll get through the full damage testing here. We're going to wait for these guys to come through. We're not incredibly worried about the damage they might inflict on the wall. We're just going to kind of chill and let them do their thing. And then keep in mind as well, so he is in a maxed out tier of Twilight. So he's in a plus 25 tier of Twilight. Iona is in a plus 1 tier of Twilight. And that's going to be really important once we get to the damage numbers at the end here. So we have everybody doing damage now. I know that you might think that, you know, Anora on the right-hand side is going to be kind of stealing some of the damage or whatnot, but I can assure you that's not really the case. As you can see, we still have enemies left alive right where he is, right where he should be damaging people, which is going to be kind of foreshadowing of things to come, I think. So let's go ahead and just keep popping ults here as they come up. As soon as Laurel comes in again, we're going to go ahead and pop her down and recall her just to make sure we have the rage to go when these big guys come in, because I did actually pop their ultimates a little bit early. We should have probably waited there, but it is what it is. We have a lot of control. We have power of dominance. It's going to be perfectly fine. We're going to pop everybody again. Place down the heals there. We'll get Eloin going here as well. And you can see we're doing some very solid damage. We're taking them down pretty quickly. Nothing too crazy going on here. We'll pop Hollow. Get some rage regen for our Valkyria. And we almost have Laurel good to go down again, which we will do. We'll recall her. And then we'll pop everybody's ultimates once again. This team is very competent at cycling, obviously, because we have so much rage regen coming in. We have so many... well, we have the rage regen coming in from Laurel as well. We have one more ad left here who we're going to take down as quick as possible. And boom, there he is. Taken down. So, let me know in the comments what you think the damage numbers are going to be before I showcase this. It'll be very impressive if anybody is able to guess this successfully. But we have 46 million coming in from Malrik. 46 million. A full 10, almost a full 10 million below an epic hero. Almost a full 10 million below an epic hero on stage 21 of the dungeon, or the gear raid, that they said he was going to be good in. Incredibly disappointing. Incredibly disappointing. And I could go through here with, like, you know, any other mage, essentially. I could bring in, like, a Comet. And in fact, in the last video, I did do a Comet test because I was curious. So I did a test with Iona, I did a test with Comet, I did a test with Malrik, and Comet still outdamaged Malrik, which is not incredibly surprising, right? So, obviously, first of all, it looks like his AoE form is not the place for him to be used, not the place for him to be relied on. So you might think, well, he has a single target form. As I always do with my single target heroes, we're going to go into the single target arena and we're going to show you what he's able to do here. So I did test him here as well. I already know essentially what's going to happen. Let's go ahead and put it on 2x speed here. What we're going to do is we're going to place Olog right here as soon as we're able. Boom. And then we're just going to go ahead and wait here essentially until we have the cost for Malrik, and then we're going to get him placed down as well. Olog is a perfect tank, obviously, because he can help keep himself alive. I would be doing this video in a lot more depth with you if, you know, I hadn't already recorded, essentially, because there was a lot more areas that I tested him out and stuff like that. So, essentially, the verdict so far, he's a decent hero, but he's outclassed by most other heroes, which is a bit of a shame. So we'll get the inspiration mode there coming in from the Diao Chan as well. Diao Chan is such a good hero. She was our exclusive, obviously, that we could have got a while back, especially if you have her A1. She is just absolutely incredible. And for some reason, she has the Wizard's Rune, which is a bit crazy. So the interaction is not consistent. I just noticed that, and it's a good thing I did, because if you noticed, when I placed down the Dolores right behind Malrik, the Wizard's Rune did not place on, obviously, Dolores. So I thought, hey, this is something good. They know what they're doing. They know what we want. But then I placed down Diao Chan, and the Wizard's Rune does, as a matter of fact, place on her, which is kind of crazy. So that is inconsistent, which could potentially mess up your runs or your strategies if you're not careful. We're going to go ahead and get Olog placed down now, and we're going to show you kind of the burst capabilities on Wave 2 here that you'll see from our Malrik. So, I will be honest, he can put out some decent damage on this burst. However, the one thing to consider is that I actually did the testing with this. So Malrik is a 19 cost mage who's coming in and bursting down these enemies, right? 19 cost inside the arena. Hard to generate if you don't have like a Siren or something like that. I tested it versus Silas in his build. Silas puts them down faster, so he does more damage, and he's a 12 cost unit. Now, granted, he is A1, so you could make the argument there that, oh, you know, it's not a fair comparison or whatever, but for, you know, single target arena, using this guy, having him charge up 19 cost, like, you're pretty damn close to just being able to get a Praetus out there if you have a Praetus, and Praetus absolutely shreds single target as well. So really the only kind of use case I see from this guy is maybe the Immortal Codex, where you can benefit from the burns that he's placing, right? Because especially when his ultimate pops, you're guaranteeing that those burns are placing. But, like, all things considered, he's not doing much single target damage, right? Like, he has a cracked out build. He should be doing more single target damage than this. Let's be honest, right? He doesn't do much AoE damage. He gets out damaged by an epic champion, for fuck's sake. An epic champion that you can buy within the first, like, what, hour of playing the game? Granted, she was A5, but still, she's an epic champion. People are going to be able to max her out very easily, right? With significantly less attack as well, but she still does more damage than him. Plus, she's bringing in slows. Like, it's crazy. And then, like, I don't know. He gives you, obviously, that bit of a damage boost to whoever is placed next. It's like a 10% damage boost or whatever it works out to, right? Plus, giving that little bit of extra rage there. But, I mean, realistically, I don't think he's going to be good enough to replace another potential DPS unit that you could bring in. Like, realistically, if I had to choose between bringing him or an Anora to a fight, or between him and a Silas, or him and a Hex, it's going to be the other hero every single time. If I have to choose between him and a Comet, it's going to be the other hero every single time. I do think that Moonton should potentially look at reworking this guy a little bit. I do think he needs a little bit more to his kit. So it would be very interesting if perhaps on the fire form he had a buff dispel, right? Because then he instantly gains infinite more ability inside Semra, inside Guild Boss 2, having a dispel on his kit. It would be interesting if his AoE on his ice form was inflicting magic defense down, right? Which is something he does on his Awakened 1, but with the level of hero he is currently, I don't think the Awakened 1 is where that should be. I think that should be just on his base level kit, and then maybe give that buff dispel on the A1, right? Like, he's not a value over replacement for anyone, especially on my account. And like I always say, this is a free-to-play account, fully free-to-play. So this is attainable for, people if you just spend long enough in the game and you have a lot of luck, right? So even for a free-to-play account, to get this guy who's a new legendary hero hyped up on a 20x banner, and it not be a value over replacement, and I get more damage out of an epic hero, that is just absolutely insane. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are on it, and if you use him, where you use him, and how you have him built. I have a Discord link down below, which we're always talking about Watcher Realms, as well as Raid Shadow Legends and some other games in there as well, so it'd be awesome to have you join. As always, though, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.